Hey, Suzanne,
Yes, Kiki.
ask me what's on my shirt.
Kiki, what's on your shirt?
It's a grizzly pear.
Can we start now? Are you ready to start our educational video?
Okay. Hey, and welcome to Surviving History Today. Today we'll be surviving the first farmers.
That's exactly right. So the first people started farming around 8500 BC, around the Mediterranean areas, but also in other parts of the world. So it made sense that they started farming instead of hunting and gathering, right? I mean, they didn't have to carry all their possessions, and they could just grow crops instead, find them everywhere,
Well.
and the animals, they were easier. I mean, right?
No.
Oh.
Actually, archaeologists have found that a lot of the farmers had less to eat than the hunters and gatherers. They also suffered more serious diseases and died at a much younger age.
Oh.
And farming took a lot of effort. They didn't really have time anymore for music or art like the hunters and gatherers in the last video did.
That sounds pretty bad, but it's important to keep in mind that the decision between hunting and gathering to farming was not made in one day. It was a series of small steps that were taken towards that change. And that's what we're going to discuss next. So for example, certain tribes, they did hunting and gathering, but at the same time they were busy farming. So they would just plant their banana trees and all that sort of stuff, and then just go off hunting for a few months. And then they would just come back and the bananas would have grown and they could just eat that instead. And so they would keep going on like that.
Just like the Aboriginal Australians who would not actually build farms, but what they would do was manage nature around them by, for example, burning a patch of trees to make the ground more fertile and make plants grow faster and easier, or chopping branches of certain trees to make the trees grow faster and produce more food. Meaning that a change from hunting and gathering to farming didn't necessarily mean a change in lifestyle from nomadism,
Which is to move around from place to place,
to a sedentary lifestyle.
which is to actually live in one place.
Now that does leave one question. Why did most hunter-gatherers eventually build farms and start farming?
Well, that, Kiki, is the question we're going to answer next. But this question has multiple answers, and many of them are right and some maybe wrong. Like,
Is this gonna take a while? Because I could just...
well, yes, no, maybe. Let's just find out. One of the reasons people started farming was the decline in wild animals. Because of climate change and even because of the growth in human population, the animals either got extinct or moved to a place where the climate was more favorable for them. So because of this exact reason, people decided to farm. They could control the amount of food they had better, and the production would be more efficient.
That sounds logical.
Yeah.
Also, there was a wider variety of domesticatable plants, making steps towards plant domestication much easier. And climate change was a huge contributor to growing huge amount of crops, such as growing wheat, which was easy, which was nice, because you want a lot of those crops, so you can eat a lot of them.
Also, people would start to use tools in order to farm and harvest their crops. For example, they would make sickles, which were knives made out of very thin blades with handles of wood or even bone. And they would make huge baskets out of very thin wood in which they could carry all their grain. And this made their whole production even more efficient than it already was.
And another reason they might have started farming instead of hunting and gathering might have been the rise in population, meaning that there were more people, population density rose, and they needed to produce more food quickly to provide for this population.
Exactly. Or did the whole farming thing rise raise the population instead?
Well, it's actually still kind of unclear whether the farming caused the rise in population or the rise in population was a reason to start farming. It's a matter of cause and effect that we can't really answer right now. What we do know for certain about farming is that it caused a surplus in food.
Which means that they had more food than they actually needed.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And this excess of food meant that people could start to specialize. For example, instead of just focusing on food production, you could focus on breeding pigs. And then you could trade those pigs with specialized people from other towns who, for example, sold cloth blankets. And this was all very nice because that laid the groundwork for our society and jobs and other things, which is cool.
Exactly. So now we've come very close to the end of this video. So to summarize, I think we've discussed the whole reason why people went from hunting and gathering, which offered them all that free time and a healthy lifestyle, to farming, which actually offered less free time and made their diet even less healthy. So we hopefully answered that question, and we discussed all the reasons behind that: the increase in population, the decrease in wild food, and the climate change.
Yeah.
I hope we've covered it all.
Yeah, I think it all went by pretty quickly.
Yeah. If it went by too quickly, you can always go back and pause the video, which is what's so cool about videos. Thanks. See you later.
Alligator.
Also, people you next door.
They're looking for some vision in injuries.
Wil je nog of niet?
Ja.
Also,